Monday to you, wherever you may be. Welcome to Dodger Stadium. A crowd well over 50, probably close to 55,000. Beautiful blue sky and bright sunlight, so it is perfect for the opening day game between the Dodgers and the San Diego Padres. In fact, we mentioned there's 55,000 here. There is one person here who is sorely missed. He was honored before the game. We will honor him briefly for this moment tonight. A dear friend of mine of over, 60 years, and that would have been former Dodger traveling secretary Billy DeLury. He was a deeply religious man whose values were so high. He was a great father and husband. He was a marvelous employee and a tremendous friend. We miss him more today than ever. However, he has gone to what we hope would be a far better place. But we couldn't pass without our own moment of silence here. There isn't anybody here more thankful of being at Dodger Stadium today than myself. In fact, really, I should do this entire game. I should do it on my knees. But if I do that, I'll never get up by the ninth inning. So just take it from the heart. We are grateful to be here, honored to serve you, and now looking forward to a great season and particularly a marvelous opening day. The banners are here. The crowds are here. Dodger Stadium, thanks to Eric Hansen and his talented crew, never looked better. In fact, if you've not been out here for an exhibition game, if you look in center field, there is something new. There is a baseball cutout in the grass, and then the spokes leading from that cutout towards the infield. A rather dramatic centerpiece featured right now by young Jock Peterson getting ready. So it's the Dodgers and the Padres. Last year, Dodgers won 12 out of 19, won 7 out of 10 here. But this is a new year and certainly a new look for the San Diego Padres in Bud Black. Here's Bud's lineup. Will Myers in center field. Derek Norris behind the plate. Matt Kemp in right field. Justin Upton in left. Will Middlebrooks at third base. Jod Jerko will be at second base. Yonder Alonso at first. Clint Barmas at short. And James Shield, the pitcher. On the mound for the Dodgers, Clayton Kershaw, a 21-game winner last year. This would be his fifth straight opener, and he has been brilliant in all of his opening games. His earned run average just during the opening games is 0.3, a third of a run. He beat San Diego 3 times here last year, and he is 8-4 against them at Dodger Stadium. So here's the first newcomer, Will Myers, with the Rays last year, and fouls off the first pitch, and we're underway. For Will Myers, he had a tough last year. In 2013, he hit .293. Last year, he hit only .222. And one reason, he really had trouble against left-hand pitching. He hit just .192 against left-hand pitching. Well, he's up against a good one now. Strike one pitch on the way. Fastball outside corner, and the count 0-2. Left-hand starting pitchers gave him a particular bad time. In 2013, he hit .339, and last year, starters stopped him at .198. Strike two pitch on the way in the dirt. Check swing, and it might have hit him on the foot, and I believe it did. And so Will Myers, grazed by a pitch on an 0-2 count, hit on the foot and awarded first base. So Myers, and actually he got it on his right knee. When you look at the replay, he lifted that right leg, and we thought it got him on the foot. So hit on the knee. Myers aboard, and now Derek Norris, who is behind the plate today, will come up and hit. Another new face in that new San Diego look. Kershaw out of a stretch, a look over at Myers, now to the plate, fastball high, ball one, 1-0. Derek Norris in his career has hit left-handers very well. In his career, a .292 batting average against left-hand pitching. Kershaw, after hitting a batter, comes back with a fastball strike, and that balances it 1-1. Interesting to note, he hits Will Myers, the first batter he faces this year. All last year, Kershaw managed to hit only 2. Clayton at the belt, looks over at first. Now that usual stretch, and the 1-1 pitch on the way. Big, slow curveball in for a strike. They used to call it Uncle Charlie or Public Enemy #1, but there it was, the Kershaw curve, and the count 1-2. So he had 2 strikes on Myers and then hit him. Now he comes right back with 2 strikes on Norris, and on deck, Matt Kemp. Here's the 1-2 pitch on the way. Kershaw deals off the plate with a high slider, and the count 2 balls and 2 strikes. Of course, naturally, all of his fans in the ballpark, they want every pitch to be a strike. So 2-2 the count to Norris. Nobody out first inning. Leadoff man Myers is aboard. Clayton, full stretch, a look over at Myers. Now to the plate. Curveball got him swinging. 1 away. Well, the return of Matt Kemp. And, of course, the crowd gave him a big welcome cheer when they introduced him, and they introduced him again. So Matt coming up to the plate. It's a homecoming for Matt. In fact, probably the greatest single homecoming involved the Dodgers and Casey Stengel. You may or may not remember, Casey Stengel had been a Dodger, was traded to Pittsburgh, and in Casey's first at-bat, being welcomed back to Ebbets Field, the crowd applauded. Casey doffed his cap, and a bird flew out from underneath it. Pretty hard to touch. Kemp, meanwhile, doffed his cap to get the ovation. Kershaw delivers high and away, ball 1. You might be interested, Joe Resnick told us that in all the games in which Kemp played for Clayton Kershaw, that'd be over 200 games, Matt hit 29 home runs for Kershaw, and in those games Clayton went 11-5. Curveball, actually a slider on that one. 1 ball and 1 strike. Kemp, big swing and a miss. Padres last year as a team was not very much of an offensive threat, and that was particularly highlighted in the month of June. Last year in the month of June, the Padres hit 171 as a team. No team in Major League history had ever hit that low for any one month. And yet, it should be pointed out, the Padres won 10 games. Here's the 1-1 pitch to Matt Kemp. There goes Myers. The pitch high. Ellis' throw is down there late. It was on a bounce. And by the time Kendrick could come and get it, he did not have a play, and Myers steals second. What made it a little awkward play for the Dodgers with Matt Kemp, the Dodgers had loaded up the left side. So Kendrick on the dead run had to handle the ball, lunged, looked like he might have gotten Myers on the leg, but apparently missed him, and Myers holding on to the corner with the left hand. So a hit batter, a stolen base. Padres have a runner in scoring position with Matt Kemp and Justin Upton back to back, a rather formidable duo. All right, Kershaw with a strikeout, set at the belt. Looks back at second, back to Kemp, fastball low, and the count 3-1. Kendrick, in a sense, is doing 2 things with the overshift, filling up the middle, and he's also trying to take the steps away from Will Myers. Kershaw, a look back, Kendrick faking but not going to the bag. Clayton ready, here he comes, swung on, ground ball the other side. It's wide open because Kendrick wasn't there. Myers will score, and the Padres take a 1-0 lead. What would normally be a routine ground ball, the area was wide open because Kendrick was on the other side of second base. So a hit batter, a stolen base, a ground ball single to right, and just like that, San Diego jumps out in front. 1-0. For Matt, a modest thing and thine own, but with a big grin on his face, he takes his lead with a run batted in. Beautiful day, 65 degrees at the start of the game, and the Padres trying to apply some heat. And here's Justin Upton, and Upton takes a strike, and the count 0-1. In that last-minute dynamite trade that the Padres made yesterday, they traded away Cameron Maybin, their center fielder, and got the great Craig Kimbrell as a closer. And they also picked up Mel Upton, Justin's younger brother. Justin has not had much success against Kershaw. That's putting it mildly. He's hitting .121 against Clayton, 4 for 33, but that's in the past. Now is now. Kershaw deals, swung on and missed, slider, and the count 0-2. Justin Upton out of Norfolk, Virginia. Lives over in Scottsdale now. Came up the same time with brother BJ. They were drafted first-round picks for each of them. Now the strike 2 pitch on the way. Kershaw deals in there. Strike 3 called. So Upton is caught looking at a little breaking ball. And we have 2 down in the first inning. And the batter will be Will Middlebrooks. So a hit batter, a stolen base, 2 strikeouts, and the ground ball single by Kemp against the shift. Rather unusual inning for anybody, and especially for Clayton Kershaw. Middlebrooks, right-hand batter. Will waiting, takes a big swing. 0-1 the count. For Kershaw, it would be a very rare first inning, a hit batter and an even rarer stolen base. But that's what's happened to him, and he's down 1-0. Middlebrooks waiting, throw to first. Back to the bag easily goes Kemp. Middlebrooks, originally signed by the Red Sox. He's a Texan. Right-hand batter stands in at 6'4", takes high. Last couple of years, Middlebrooks has changed. 2012, he hit .288. Last year, he hit only .191. Right-hand pitchers really gave him a bad time. He hit only .195 against them. His dad, an athletic coach, so he's been well trained. And the next one, roller to third. Uribe down to second base to Kendrick, and they get the fourth play. Padres didn't have to hit the ball very hard. They only hit it once, and that was a slow roller in the vacated second spot area by Matt Kemp. And at the end of half an inning, Padres won. Dodgers coming up. Stolen base was a big play. You know, last year and the year before, Kershaw only allowed 5 stolen bases each year. Here's the Dodger lineup. Jimmy Rollins at short, Yasiel Puig in right, Adrian Gonzalez at first, Howie Kendrick at second hitting cleanup. Then you have Carl Crawford and Juan Uribe, Jock Peterson, A.J. Ellis, and Clayton Kershaw. Big Game James, that would be James Shield. He's 6'4", 215 from Newhall, California, with the Rays in the last 2 years with the Royals. And his first pitch to Jimmy Rollins in for a strike, and the count 0-1. He won 10 games on the road last year. In the games he started, the Royals won 21 games. Hard ground ball by the diving Jed Jerko. And so Jimmy Rollins, who was the MVP when he led off for the Phillies, and begins his 15th straight opening day, and with the Dodgers, a base hit to right field. So a nice way for Rollins to break in. Jerko gave it the dive, but never could get it. Just did go under his glove. So Shields gives up the base hit to Rollins, and the batter now will be Yasiel Puig. Remember, leading off for the Phillies back in 2007, Rollins wound up being the MVP, and he was a tremendous leadoff man. And here he is, base hit first time today. So Yasiel Puig checking in. Rollins at first. A look over by Shields. Yasiel looks at a breaking ball strike, and the count 0-1. Puig starting afresh, looks down to Bundy for the moment. James Shields last year gave the Royals 24 quality starts and averaged just a hair under 7 innings a start. So the big right-hander ready and looks over at Rollins. Strike one pitch, swung on and missed, and the count 0-2. One thing about James Shields last year, he faltered late in the game. He gave up 23 home runs, but he led the Royals in almost every pitching department. Wins, starts, innings, strikeouts, wins on the road, wins after a loss. So Shields a high set up about the right shoulder, looking over at Rollins. Now to Puig, who hits one foul down the line, out of play. So Yasiel checking in with a no ball 2-strike count. Hitting back of him is Adrian Gonzalez, and whether they team up second and third, third and fourth, fourth and fifth, if you see Puig, the chances are that you will see Gonzalez on deck. Shields a right-hander, but has a very good move. He's out of his stretch. Rollins watching. Puig takes it's a little low. 1-2. Shields in his career, and I'm sure Rollins knows about it. Shields has 31 kickoffs. That's more than any other right-hander since 2006, and the most, 12th, by a right-hander in Major League history. So if you get on base, you really have to watch him. Shields set. Rollins is doing just that. Next one to Puig. Change up, swung on and missed. Puig way out in front of it, and down he goes. So 1 out. Rollins at first, and the batter Adrian Gonzalez. So the veteran checking in, had 27 home runs, 116 runs batted in. For Gonzalez last year, he had ample opportunities to drive in runs, and he made the most of it. Padres put on a shift on the right side, and the first pitch, Adrian, line drive at the third baseman Millabrooks. He throws to first, and diving back is Rollins. So the left side was wide open, and Adrian hit it right at Millabrooks. So 2 down, and Howie Kendrick coming up. Howie Kendrick has had a great deal of success against James Shields, and they're both well aware of it. Howie Kendrick is 14 for 26 That's a .538 batting average against Shields in their battles when Howie's with the Angels and Shields was pitching either for the Rays or the Royals. So Kendrick coming up, Rollins at first, and for Rollins, a good base runner. He can steal a lot of bases. He stole 28, his high 47. So they'll be keeping an eye on Rollins. As you just see, he goes over to Shields. So it's a battle. A very good, successful base runner and a marvelous right-hand pitcher with a great move to first. Meanwhile, Kendrick waiting at the plate. Shields set. A check of Rollins now to the plate. Fastball in for a strike. And the count 0-1. Howie Kendrick, who came up to the Angels back in 2006 and left the franchise as a second baseman with most hits. Here's the strike one pitch, a bluff by Rollins and a foul ball back to the screen, and a no ball 2-strike count to Howie Kendrick. James Shields on the mound for San Diego. Remember Aaron Rowan, who played center field for Philadelphia and the Giants? They're cousins. Shields leans in. Now a big swing of the arms comes set above the shoulder. And the pitch, little roller to third. Middlebrooks comes up with it, sidearms to first, and that'll be that. So Kendrick fouls down to third. No runs, one hit, a man left. Clayton Kershaw ready to go back to work, and the Padres lead the Dodgers 1-0. Ed Jerko, then Yonder Alonso and Clint Barnes. Barmes will be batting 8th, and James Shields hitting 9th. So Jerko, who had the big year in 2013 and then foot problems last year, checks in at the plate, swings, hard ground ball, nice backhand by Uribe, who throws him out. Juan Uribe just seems to get better and better at third base, and he takes a base hit away from Jerko. Nice backhanded stab on a ball that otherwise goes down the line. So one away. One out, second inning, and Yonder Alonso coming up. Alonso getting the start at first base. Historically, it seems a current and former Dodger holds the record for most opening day starts at first base. He hits one to right. Puig on the run and one-hands it. A nice play by Yasiel Puig. So instead of 2 hits, 2 outs in the second, and Clint Barmes coming up.
Shortstop, Clint Barnes.
The first baseman who holds the record for openers for San Diego, Steve Garvey and Adrian Gonzalez, they both did it 5 times. Of course, the most opening day starter, Hall of Famer Tony Gwynn, had 17 for the Padres. So here's Barmes, and Clint takes a strike, and the count 0-1. So for Kershaw, plagued a little bit with bad luck in the first inning, and fortunate with good plays behind him in the second. Curveball misses, 1 ball and 1 strike to Clint Barmes. You may remember Barmes. He was with Colorado. Broke a collarbone carrying deer meat. Todd Helton had hunted, got some deer meat, gave it to Clint. Clint came home while carrying it, tripped, broke the collarbone. Came up to the Colorado Rockies all the way back in 2003. 2-1 pitch, swung on and missed, 2-2. Clint's done pretty well over the years against starting pitchers and very poorly against relievers. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Kershaw with a pitch, swung on and missed, and that'll do it. That will be his 3rd strikeout. And at the end of an inning and a half, it's still San Diego 1 and the Dodgers nothing. Wednesday, April 15th. They'll face the Mariners at 7:15, and the first 40,000 fans in attendance receive an adult Jackie Robinson replica jersey presented by Bank of America. For tickets, visit Dodgers.com/promotions. Carl Crawford to lead it off, then Juan Uribe and Jock Peterson. Shields ready, fastball swung on and fouled away, and the count 0-1. Carl Crawford, the veteran who's been in both leagues, last year hitting .300. When healthy, he is truly an all-around athlete. He's had leg problems last couple of years. Strike 1 pitch, a little flare into shallow center, a trio. Padres and the shortstop Barmes goes back to make the catch. Meanwhile, the catcher Derek Norris goes down on his knees behind the plate. I'm not sure whether Crawford's bat hit him or just what happened. We'll take another look at the tape. The swing, the bat hits him on the right hand or arm. Carl held the bat for a while, Then it came out and nailed the catcher. So Crawford pops to short, and Derek Norris is the worst for it. And they are checking that right arm, asking him to bend it. And he's trying, and obviously in some pain. So timeout for the moment. Crawford, a big swing and full turn, bat in his right hand. Then he kind of dropped the hand. The bat went flying, and it caught Norris on the right arm. Naturally, Norris is trying to get some feeling in the hand. As a catcher, of course, it takes a lot to get a catcher out of a game. He's shaking that right hand. I'm sure the bat hit him in an area at the elbow where the hand probably went numb. So Bud Black checking him out. You know, Bud Black has spent 8 years as the manager of the Padres with 4 different front offices. That's pretty tough. 4 of his 8 and 3 straight, the Padres have won somewhere between 75 and 78 games. He is second in tenure to Mike Scioscia, and Bud Black, you may remember, succeeded Bruce Bochy. And what a difference for the fortunes of the two catchers. Bruce Bochy has won 3 World Series, and Bud Black has been above 500 only twice. So we tell you about Black while we wait on Norris. Norris now is okay, thank goodness. And the batter will be Juan Uribe. So the broken bat nails Derek Norris on the right arm. He hangs in, toughs it out, goes into his crouch, and Uribe checks in, batting .311. It's 1-0 in favor of San Diego. Bottom of the second inning. Little roller to shortstop. Barmes up with it, gets rid of it in a hurry. So just like that, 2 down in the second inning. And the batter will be Jock Peterson. Jock Peterson coming off that magnificent year at AAA, where he had 33 home runs and 30 stolen bases. But, as they say on Broadway, what have you done for me lately? Last year, hit 143. He had a wonderful spring, but it was only the spring, and now it's for keeps. Going up against the veteran, James Shields. Shields, one of 3 boys, and his mom used to catch all 3 of them until they got to throw too hard for her. First pitch outside. In fact, James said she was catching them only until they were 8, and they were throwing that hard that she had to give it up. 1-0 pitch on the way is swung on and missed, 1-1. James Shields had a lot of fun in life, especially in his young days. He was a trumpet player. Yeah, he played trumpet, sat in the first chair in the elementary school band back in Newhall. 1-1 the count. Shields comes back to his hitter inside, ball 2, 2-1 the count. Shields talks about the trumpet, saying, my trumpet was a rental. The best trumpets were silver, mine was brass. Well, his wife heard that story and did something about it. 2-1 pitch, Peterson takes ball 3. So his wife went out and bought him a silver trumpet. Well, he tried to play it, as he said, I just can't even play a note anymore, but someday maybe. So the 3-1 pitch on the way. Peterson, big swing and a miss. It was a fastball. He was guessing fastball, and it looked like he was a little bit out in front of it. 3-2 the count. Shields ready. Big guy comes back. Peterson swings and doesn't get it. Down he goes. Dodgers tiptoe through the second. 6 in a row retired by Shields, who has struck out 2. And at the end of 2, San Diego 1 and the Dodgers nothing. If you weren't with us, Will Myers on a no-ball, 2-strike count was hit on the knee by a pitch. He stole second. The Dodgers put a shift on Matt Kemp, and he hit a slow roller in the vacated spot by Kendrick. It rolled into right field, and the Padres had the run. Kershaw now ready to work against the opposition, James Shield, who takes a strike, 0-1. We mentioned that James related a cousin to Aaron Rowan, and the first time Shields went to see Rowan play, he was playing Cal State Fullerton. And Shields, who liked the way Rowan played, saw that Aaron was wearing number 33. And from that moment on, he said, "That's my number, 33, and that's what he's wearing today." The next pitch, slow curveball, strike 3 call. Down he goes. 4 strikeouts for Kershaw.
Number 4, Will Myers.
He's retired 6 in a row since that little ground ball base hit by Matt Kemp. So the leadoff man, Will Myers, hit on the knee on a no-ball, 2-strike count, stole second, which is quite a treat against Kershaw, and then scored on the ground ball by Kemp. So 1-0 San Diego. Big foul ball at the plate. 0-1 the count to Will Myers. Myers was the American League Rookie of the Year. That was 2 years ago. And one of those fortunate fellows, his first major league hit was a grand slam home run. And believe it or not, he hit it at Yankee Stadium. The youngest player to hit a grand slam at the stadium since Ken Griffey Jr. Strike 1 pitch, high fly ball. Peterson goes back a little to one-handed. And just like that, 2 down in the third. And the batter will be Derek Norris. Hit by the broken bat on the right arm. Derek hanging in there. 2 years ago, Derek Norris, coming off the bench as a pinch hitter, had 3 home runs. He hits left-handers very well. We mentioned earlier, 292 against left-handers in his career. He struck out, however, in the first inning and takes a strike, and they count 0-1. Derek Norris against Clayton Kershaw. He's from Goddard, Kansas, still lives there. Originally drafted by the Nationals. Strike 1 pitch is whacked into left center field, and Peterson's going to go to the wall to pick it up. Norris goes into second base standing with a double, and you can see why he's been so effective against left-hand pitchers. He just laid a rope out there to left center. So a 2-out double by Derek Norris, and that will bring up Matt Kemp again.
Number 27.
Matt able to roll one through the vacated spot to get a run home in the first inning. Take another look. The Dodgers had the shift on the left side, and Matt was able to roll it the other way. You know, it's interesting that the Dodgers and the Padres have a trade. They don't usually trade with each other. Al McBean came to the Dodgers for Tommy Dean back in 1969. Matt Kemp takes in the dirt. Back in 1998, a trade, but it only involved minor leaguers. 2008, the Dodgers acquired Greg Maddux from San Diego. And then, of course, last year, the trade that involved Matt Kemp. So Matt, the big boy out of Oklahoma, checking in against Kershaw, who looks back at Norris. Kershaw set at the belt and deals. Big bouncer to third, waiting for the hop as Uribe, and throws to first to get him. So for the Padres, no runs, 1 hit, a man left. And at the end of 2.5 innings, it's 1-0 San Diego. Nothing in favor of San Diego. A.J. Ellis, Clayton Kershaw, and then Jimmy Rollins. Interesting that Jimmy Rollins led off the game with a base hit, which removed any possibility of a no-hitter. Well, that's kind of important with San Diego. The Padres have never had a no-hitter. Pitched A.J. in for a strike. In fact, the Padres the only team without a no-hitter. They've never had a hitter hit the cycle. Marlins either. The next pitch a little low. 1 ball, 1 strike. The Padres have had 28 one-hitters. And then Rollins led off the game with a single. So Bud's been close, but no cigar. 1 ball and 1 strike the count. Shields ready, and the 1-1 pitch on the way. Fastball outside and high, ball 2. Gene Heels, he's been involved in a lot of things well worth talking about. We'll duck a couple of them in while he pitches. He gave up 6 home runs in a game one time. Ellis fouls it back. That was 5 years ago against the Toronto Blue Jays. He also pitched 11 complete games in 2011, the most since Randy Johnson had pitched 12 way back in 1999. James ready. 2-2 pitch on the way. Swung on and missed. Down goes Ellis. That'll be strikeout number 3 for James Shields.
Number 22.
And the batter, Clayton Kershaw. Another thing that James Shields has done, he became the first pitcher since Roger Clemens to toss at least 11 complete games and 4 shutouts in the same year. He surpassed 200 innings 6 straight seasons. He's quite a pitcher. First a strike, 0-1 to Kershaw. 2 years ago, James led the American League in innings pitched and quality starts. He's got over 1,500 strikeouts, and he gets a strike to Kershaw, and the count 0-2. He's had at least 8 straight years with 30 starts, so he's quite a pitcher. The strike 2 pitch on the way, chopped at high bouncer, fielded by the pitcher Shields to throw out Kershaw. So for the Dodgers, Jimmy Rollins led off the game with a base hit, and they haven't been heard from since. 8 in a row retired, as Rollins getting ready to come up again.
Number 11, Jimmy Rollins.
So Jimmy 1 for 1 in his role as the leadoff man. 14 straight years he led off for the Phillies on opening day, though he begins his career as the leadoff man for the Dodgers. Statistically, and you know they can run you up a wall with statistics today, the sabermetrics people have really taken over. The pitch to Jimmy Rollins, taken low, ball 1. They worked it all out and said he really shouldn't be a leadoff man. And if you looked at the sabermetrics numbers, the fella they think should be statistically the Dodger leadoff man, Howie Kendrick, well, he's hitting 4th. Here's the 1-0 pitch. Jimmy bunts on the chalk. Fair ball, fair ball, fair ball, fair ball, fair ball. And just did, I believe, chick foul, maybe 15 feet from the bag at third. So Rollins lays down a dandy, and the ball runs on the chalk and then peels off. Smart play from Middlebrooks. He knew he didn't have a play. So Middlebrooks just decided to let the ball decide the issue, and it went foul. So Rollins coming back. Jimmy, a very consistent player. His career, he's hitting .267 against right-handers, .269 against left-handers. Almost, but no cigar. So 1 ball and 1 strike to Jimmy. Out of Oakland. When he lived and played for Philadelphia, he lived across the river, Swedesboro, New Jersey. Takes a pitch high. Jimmy at 5'8". 5'8", and yet he's played 162 games the year that he was the MVP. Played 162 years ago. A grueling position at shortstop. Breaking ball low, so Rollins with the count 3-1. Shields holding the ball at his chest. Now the 3-1 pitch on the way. Fastball in there. Rollins ready to throw the bat away. Plate umpire Brian Gorman called strike, and it's 3-2. Pitch started at the knees, finished up a little low, but Brian followed it through the strike zone. And the 3-2 pitch on the way, swung on and fouled away. By the way, in talking about umpires, it is a big day today, April the 6th, for third base umpire Hal Gibson. Gibson, who has been in the minor leagues, is now a major league umpire. What he did to commemorate the day, he bought himself a ticket, so he'll always have that ticket to remind him of the fact of the start of his career. The pitch to Rollins fouled, or in fact not fouled, just goes all the way to the backstop for ball 4. So Rollins walks, and with 2 out, Yasiel Puig coming up. Yasiel struck out in the first inning. Shields has struck out 3, walked 1. Padres lead 1-0, bottom of the third inning. Dodgers have been very successful at Dodger Stadium. They've won 4 straight openers and 6 of the last 7. Shields out of his stretch, and the pitch inside under the hands, ball 1. Well, last time in the first inning, Rollins kept looking for an opening. We told you that Shields, as a right-hander, still has one of the great pickoff moves to first base. And Shields kept Rollins quiet while Puig, Gonzalez, and Kendrick made out. Jimmy representing the tying runs with 2 out. The 1-0 pitch swung on, and a high twisting foul ball back into the crowd behind the visitors' dugout, and the count 1 ball and 1 strike. A lot of off-speed pitches. Puig not able to time them. Shields, meanwhile, has made 37 pitches, but he's got 2 out here in the third. Shields, 33 years old. He'd be 34. So his age matches his numbers. 1 ball and 1 strike. Rollins again trying to see an opening. James nods yes to Derek Norris. A look at Rollins. Another look. Rollins goes. Pitch inside. The throw is short on a bounce. Winds up in center field. Backed up by Will Myers. So Rollins steals second base. I know Derek Norris doesn't need any excuses, but don't forget he had just been hammered on the right arm by the broken bat and swing of Carl Crawford. So he's tested, and he bounced one towards second base. In fact, he has asked for a new ball, I think, just for the opportunity of throwing it back to the pitcher. So Jimmy Rollins steals second base, and of course he's always a threat. Now it's a question of what Puig can do to pick him up. Rollins has stolen as many as 47. And there's a slow roller to short. Nice hop for Barnes. Throw to first. So Puig taps out. Dodgers lead Rollins at second. And at the end of 3, San Diego 1 and the Dodgers nothing. 2015 Jeep Cherokee. With an EPA estimated 31 highway MPG, it's the perfect choice. Visit Jeep.com today. Padres get a run in the first inning. James Shields making it stand up. And we go to the fourth inning, 1-0 Padres. It'll be Justin Upton, Will Middlebrooks, and then Jed Jerko in that order. Boy, it was a shock. After all, the Padres had already seemed to change the club completely. And then the bombshell late yesterday, I think we heard about it around 4 p.m., the acquisition of a great closer in Craig Kimbrell. For Craig Kimbrell, he came to San Diego along with Melvin Upton, the youngest of the Upton boys, but Melvin is on the DL. He has a bad foot, may or may not play come May. The next pitch foul back. Cameron Maybin is the big name from San Diego. But wow, Craig Kimbrell. I mean, you're talking about one of the top closers in the game. And Atlanta didn't give him away, but at the same time, he was so important to them. 1 ball and 2 strikes to count. Give you an idea, Kimbrell saved 46 games, 42 games, 50 games, and last year 47. Upton fouls it away. So when you get to the 9th inning and the Padres have a lead, and remember they did have Houston Street. Now they have Kimbrell. Wow. Meanwhile, Upton has had a lot of trouble in the past, as we pointed out, with Kershaw. Of course, that joins a large number of hitters. Has a look, and the count goes 2-2. Clayton down 1-0. Dodgers have given him just 1 hit. 2 balls, 2 strikes to Justin Upton. And he fouls that one back. So Upton hanging tough against a pitcher who has normally given him a very bad time. Upton and his brother hit home runs the same game 4 times. Justin has over 100 home runs. 2-2 pitch on the way. Line drive down the left field line, foul. Justin thought he had an extra base hit against a pitcher who has given him such a bad time. Upton is 4 for 34 against Kershaw. Of course, there are a lot of great hitters in the league having trouble with a great pitcher besides Upton. I mean, he's got a lot of company. You know, in Arizona, Carlos Gonzalez, he's hitting 167 against Kershaw. How about Hunter Pence, the right fielder of the Giants? He is 4 for 53 against Kershaw. That's less than 100. 0.75. Upton back up and waiting, and the 2-2 pitch on the way. Breaking ball in the dirt, swung on and missed. Ellis has to go back and get it. Throw to first just in time. So Upton strikes out for the second time and is just nipped. Good play by A.J. Ellis to run that thing down. So Upton, who thought he had a double, winds up striking out a second time. For Clayton Kershaw, 5 strikeouts. The no ball 2 strike pitch that got Will Myers cashed in for the run. Upton running very well. Close play, but he was out. So 1 away here in the 4th. Will Middlebrooks checking in, right hand hitting third baseman. 1 ball and no strikes. Middlebrooks on the road last year in playing for the Red Sox. Hit only 168. He's 0 for 1 today. Will tries to time a low breaking ball, comes up empty. 1 ball and 2 strikes the count. Kershaw 1 out in the 4th, but losing 1-0. Middlebrooks, his dad, an assistant baseball coach and assistant football coach at high school. Now he's the head football coach. And Middlebrooks, a very good athlete. He drew a lot of college scholarships to be a quarterback and a punter. And he finally committed to Texas A&M. He might have had an NFL future as a punter, but he has a major league hitter's eye. Takes a pitch just off the plate, and the count 2-2. In the dirt, ball 3. So instead of being a punter in the NFL, here he is playing for the Padres. Behind him, Jed Jerko. Three and 2. And fouled away off to the right, out of play. Kershaw has made 49 pitches, and he's in the 4th inning. Middlebrooks in and out of the batter's box. And another foul ball out of play. Middlebrooks wears number 16. He started that a couple of years ago. He said, "It's a number I've worn my entire life." Three and 2 to Will Middlebrooks. And a drive to left. Coming up to spear it is Carl Crawford. Boy, that ball had a lot of sink on it. Nice play by Carl. The Middlebrooks lines out to left. 2 down in the 4th. And Jed Jerko coming up. Take another look at Crawford spearing that thing. That line drive at the left fielder. Good play. So 2 out in the 4th. Here's Jerko, right hand hitting second baseman. Ground foul outside. The Mountaineer from West Virginia. Jerko had a great 2013, and then bad feet slowed him down last year, but he's healthy and ready to go this year. 0-2 the count. One of the things that has to be plaguing Kershaw, he's now made 53 pitches. There have been 8 foul balls. So even though he's struck out 5, they're getting just pieces of the pitches and making him work. Changeup misses. Jerko not only had a good year with the bat 2 years ago, he finished the year with a great fielding percentage. The best by a rookie in Major League history. High fly ball. Crawford down the line. Foul ground. Reaches over. Can't get it. Crawford giving it his best shot. Took one look to see where he was and didn't have a play. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Jerko slaps it the other way. That's a breaking ball down and away, and he's going to wind up with a double. Puig gets it and gets it back in. Nice bit of hitting by Jed Jerko. So a 2-out double to right field. Second double for the Padres. Remember, Derek Norris doubled to the gap in left center. He failed to score. It came with 2 out. And we can see Jerko reaching for that breaking ball and poking it into the corner. So 1 run, 3 hits for San Diego. No runs, 1 hit. A murmur of protest from the Dodgers through their 3 innings. And Kershaw now trying to get Yonder Alonso. And the first pitch foul back. You know the story on Alonso. His mom and dad had their first child in Havana, and they invented the name Yonder. And then years later, they learned the English meaning of the name, and they certainly figured now a powerful young hitter, a name like Yonder's okay. Next pitch in for a strike, and the count 0-2. Alonso is from Havana, lives in Miami, went to the University of Miami. 6'2" and a good 240. Originally drafted by the Reds. Strike 2 pitch on the way. Kershaw deals, and see you later on a fastball at 95. 6 strikeouts for Kershaw. A man left at second, and at the end of 3.5 innings, it's 1-0 San Diego. Dodgers and Padres at 7:10, and the first 40,000 fans in attendance receive an adult replica pullover jacket presented by Bank of America. To secure your tickets, visit Dodgers.com/promotion. Good looking jacket. Meanwhile, James Shields, a good looking pitcher. The Dodgers will certainly attest to that fact. They have one single, a leadoff single by Jimmy Rollins. Gonzalez lined out to Middlebrooks at third. Padres really load up the right side. Adrian shows bunt. Strike. Jerko is a good 10 feet out into right field, with Alonso and Barmes on either side staying on the infield. So Middlebrooks all alone on the left. Gonzalez tried to poke it to left and hit a line drive right at the third baseman. 1 ball and 1 strike to count. Shields gave up that leadoff single to Rollins, and that's it. High fly ball down the right field line, hooking in the corner, and it is gone. Home run for Adrian Gonzalez, and the Dodgers have tied it up. So Adrian Gonzalez, who hit 27 home runs last year, who hit a home run his first at bat for the Dodgers when he came over here in 2012, hits the home run to get him even. 1-1. Howie Kendrick fouling it off. 0-1 the count. So take another look. Fastball out over the plate, and Gonzalez hit a high fly ball right down the line, just inside the pole for a home run. Kendrick, a towering fly ball to left center. Back goes Myers to the track. Lost it in the sun. It'll be a double for Kendrick. Whoa, he's going for 3. The throw to third. He is in there. Boy, you talk about little Orphan Annie's eyes. That fly ball to center. Myers' sunglasses glistening as Kendrick hit the curveball and fighting the sun all the way, and Myers lost it. Kendrick, gambling at second with nobody out, decided to stretch and just did beat the throw to third. So the Dodgers have not only tied it up, they have a tiebreaker 90 feet away. You have Carl Crawford, the batter. The infield is up, and the crowd is alive and well. Crawford takes a look at a strike on the outside corner. Carl popped up in the second inning. So Gonzalez, a home run to right, and then the triple by Kendrick. That's the third hit for the Dodgers. Same totals now as San Diego. Shields throws to third. Kendrick diving back to the bag. For Kendrick, as we mentioned earlier, he was 14 for 26 in the American League against James Shields. So it's no surprise when he takes Shields for a base hit. Crawford looked like a bad ball down and away. No balls and 2 strikes. Waiting on deck, Juan Uribe. Dodgers have had one other man in scoring position. That was Rollins, who walked and stole second in the third inning. So now Kendrick at third, nobody out. 1 ball and 2 strikes to Carl Crawford. Game 2 of the series tomorrow night. Tyson Ross and Zach Greinke. They'll wrap it up Wednesday night. Andrew Kashner and Brandon McCarthy. Dodgers then go over to Arizona. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Crawford, a drive into right center. That's a base hit. In fact, Crawford is on his way for 2. He will beat the throw. Kendrick scores, and the Dodgers lead 2-1. So extra base hitting here in the 4th inning. Home run by Gonzalez, triple by Kendrick, double by Crawford. Got a fastball up out over the plate and probably bangs it into the gap, and that'll bring up Juan Uribe. Juan Uribe grounded to short. That was in the second inning, 0 for 1. And a strike. Juan Uribe had a tremendous September, and for that matter, in his career, September has always been his best month. Here's the strike 1 pitch. Swung and missed. April, he's done well. A .274 batting average, 25 home runs. But in his career in September, out of sight, 53 home runs and a .301 batting average. No balls and 2 strikes to Juan Uribe. And he pokes it to the hole. Nice save by Jerko to get the out. And Crawford advances to third. That's the first out of the inning, and it saved a run.
Number 31, Jock Peterson.
The young Jock Peterson coming up with a runner at third. Dodgers leading 2-1. 2 runs, 4 hits for the Dodgers. 1 run, 3 hits for the Padres, and we are in the 4th. Uribe doing a good job with 2 strikes. moving the runner over and almost had a base hit to right field. So a nice bit of hitting. 0-1 the count to Jock Peterson. Young Jock struck out in the second inning. Kendrick, Puig on the rail, trying to get another man home. That would be Crawford. Meanwhile, Kershaw down in the first inning, 1-0. Now up, leading 2-1 in the fourth. Shields in the dirt, and a 1-ball, 1-strike count to Jock Peterson. I would imagine, even though he played briefly last year, it's butterfly time for Peterson. Starting opening day at Dodger Stadium. 1-1 pitch. On the hands and popped up to short. Barnes is there. And the Dodgers now with a runner at third, 2 out, and A.J. Ellis.
Number 17.
Late breaking pitch that really got Peterson right on the thumbs. Take a look at the pitch, and you can see Peterson unable to extend, hit it off the handle, and a little pop fly. You could see that ball jump even from up here. So Peterson goes to school. Class will always be in for him. Now they will walk A.J. Ellis intentionally and take their chances against Kershaw, who hit back to the box in the third inning. 2-1 Dodgers, fourth inning, opening day. Nothing quite like it. Ballpark looks beautiful. Eric Hansen doing a tremendous job. Grass never looked greener. The banners are out. The ballpark has been improved. You would think you can improve it more, but the Dodgers kept making better changes every year. They've done it again. All to make it a great experience coming to the ballpark. Kershaw hit back to the box in the third inning. Last year, he was a threat. You may not remember, with runners in scoring position, he hit .333. 5 for 15 and a chant MVP as he checks in and looks at a strike. 0-1. 2-1 Dodgers, bottom of the fourth. Tyson Ross and Zach Greinke tomorrow night. Meanwhile, down the line from third is Crawford. Over at first is Ellis. And poked down the left field line. Foul ball. And caught by the ball boy. No balls and 2 strikes. They count to Clayton. Ellis walking slowly back to first. Kyle Crawford over at third. No balls, 2 strikes. Ball 1. Waiting on deck, leadoff man Jimmy Rollins, who has singled and walked. And down goes Kershaw. But the Dodgers come back with 2 on a home run, a triple, a double, and the intentional walk. Led as usual by Adrian Gonzalez, hitting a home run just inside the foul pole. And at the end of 4, 2-1 Dodgers. to you by Jack in the Box. Jack's hottest sandwich is back. Head to Jack in the Box for Jack's Blazing Chicken Sandwich. And by Nissan. Choose Nissan today for great offers on our most exciting lineup ever. Choose Nissan.com. We go to the fifth inning with the Dodgers leading 2-1. Beautiful day. It'll be Clint Barmes, James Shields, and then Will Myers in that order. Barmes, the shortstop, struck out in the second inning, 0 for 1. If you weren't with us, the Padres scored in the first inning. Will Myers, on a no-ball, 2-strike count, was hit on the leg, stole second, and Matt Kemp's little roller into right field, the vacated spot because Kendrick was playing on the shortstop side to load it up. So that was the Padre run. Since then, they've had 2-out doubles by Derek Norris and Jed Jerko. Dodgers, meanwhile, rally to take the 2-1 lead. Breaking ball in there, and the count 0-2. You know the greatest misnomers in baseball? Here's the strike 2 pitch on the way. And that's probably banged to left field. Crawford on the dead run is not going to get it, and it's going to get away. For Kershaw to give up a double on a 0-2 count against the number 8 hitter in the lineup really gives you some thoughts. So the double for Barmes, and that'll bring up Shields. The greatest misnomer is to call them foul poles. And remember, we told you that Adrian Gonzalez hit that ball inside the foul pole. Well, remember, the foul pole is in fair ground. The foul lines are in fair ground. And yet they don't say fair pole and they don't say fairgrounds. And Shields up there to bunt, takes a strike. What really is part of a story you don't hear about, and there's the ball just going inside the foul pole. In 1962, when the stadium opened, the foul poles were in foul ground, and no one knew it. Yeah. They didn't realize it till the end of the year. And of course, foul poles were so tough to discern on that ball going right down the line. They put the screens up. So it should be fair poles and fair lines. However, just a thought. 0-2 the count at James Shields. Kershaw with a half a dozen strikeouts, just missed. 1 ball, 2 strikes. The veteran Brian Gorman behind the plate. Curveball just stayed outside. Shields from Newhall. Check swing. Did he or didn't he? Yes, he did. The Shields strikes out. High fastball, strikeout number 7. We mentioned that Shields is from Newhall. Padres staff consists of 12 pitchers. Half of them are from California. Nick Vincent's from Poway. Dale Thayer from Fountain Valley. Shields from Newhall. Tyson Ross from Berkeley. Brandon Morrows from Santa Rosa. And of course, Ian Kennedy is from Huntington Beach. So a big out, runner holding, and here's Will Myers. Strike. Myers hit by a pitch, scored a run, fly to center. Dodgers lead 2-1. We're in the top of the 5th inning. Tying run at second base in Clint Barmes. Fake throw, but Clayton going through the motions, just holding on to the ball. The count 0-1 brings up a point about Myers. 2013, he had the count his way a lot more. 2014, he did not have the count in his way. What's the difference? With the count, he hit 286. Behind in the count, he hit 222. 0-1 and fouled away. So Myers now is in trouble, and we say that because of Clayton Kershaw. When Kershaw has the hitter, no balls and 2 strikes. The hitters are batting .115 against him. Oh, we'll see about Will Myers out of Thomasville, North Carolina. That's furniture country, and lives in High Point. 0-2. A look for ball 1, 1-2. Myers had committed to go to the University of South Carolina, but he was persuaded by the Royals. 1-2. Myers at the plate, a very good athlete, played just about every position in high school except second base. Down he goes. So that is the 8th strikeout for Clayton Kershaw. And his mastery continues, especially when he gets you in 0-2. Hard breaking ball down in the dirt. The slider, nice play by Ellis to stay with it. And now Derek Norris struck out and doubled. Norris, as we mentioned, very successful, especially against left-hand pitching. 2 years ago, Norris hit 3 pinch hit home runs for the Oakland A's. And no balls and 1 strike. Dodgers lead 2-1. Low and inside. Norris wears a beard, and not for the usual reasons. People asked him, why do you wear a beard? He said, I'm baby faced. If I'm clean shaven, I look about 12. And I know an awful lot of people would say, well, that's great. I'd like to look 12. 1 ball and 1 strike. 1-2. Norris, when he was in high school in rural Kansas, was a skilled basketball player and football. He was also all-state in baseball. 1-2 the count. Little ground ball back at third. Uribe, the long throw. Boy, close play. In fact, Norris beats it. You don't see catchers beat throws to first unless they are especially gifted. Let's put it this way. There's a catcher who ran like he was 12 years old with the beard. So a very close play, but that brings up Matt Kemp. So a ground ball to Uribe, and Norris beats it out. Among all the active hitters against left-hand pitching, the #1 hitter is David Wright of the Mets, hitting .340. Ryan Braun of Milwaukee hitting .337, and Matt Kemp hitting .331. The Matt up there had a slow roller to right field for a base hit when they had the shift on the other way. And then last time up, Matt grounded to third. So the speed of Derek Norris keeps the inning alive. First and third with 2 out. And a line drive. That's not only a base hit, it's down the line. So Norris on his way to third. They're waving Norris in. Poor throw, cutting and missing the leadoff cutoff man. Allows 2 runs to score on Matt Kemp's double. and the Padres turn it around 3-2. Crawford missing Jimmy Rollins with his throw, and once he missed the cutoff man, that was that. Norris was going to score. So Matt Kemp has a single and a double, 3 runs batted in. So a fella hitting better than .330 in his career against left-handers. Take a look. You can see Crawford coming up at his throw over the head of Rollins, and that meant no play. So Kemp doubles in Barmes and Norris. Padres led 1-0. They trail 2-1. They lead 3-2. And the batter Justin Upton, ball 1. For the Padres, they also have 3 doubles now. Norris, in fact, make it 4 doubles. Norris, Jerko, Barmes, and now Kemp. Kershaw on a 1-ball no strike count, missing for ball 2. 2-0 the count. Three runs, 6 hits for San Diego. Another look back at Matt Kemp. And ball 3. On deck is the third baseman, Will Middlebrooks. So Matt Kemp got that slow roller into right field against the shift, and that drove in a run. Now doubles in 2 to give the Padres a 3-2 lead. He's knocked in all 3 runs. But the speed of Derek Norris, don't lose that. Ground ball to short. Rollins up with it to get him. The inning is over, but because the catcher, who can run like a 12-year-old, he beat Uribe's throw to first. That kept the inning alive. And then up came Kemp and got the big double. So Norris certainly gets the credit, and the Padres lead 3-2. As Jimmy Rollins, Howie Kendricks discuss their trades and the upcoming season. So don't miss Connected with the Infield. That'll be today at 5 p.m. on Sportsnet LA. Clayton Kershaw made 20 pitches in the 5th inning. He has now made 79 pitches, and James Shields leading him 3-2, bottom of the 5th inning. Jimmy Rollins followed by Yasiel Puig, Adrian Gonzalez. Shields high for ball 1. Rollins singled. They left him at first. Walked, stole second, and they left him there in the 3rd. Puig hitting back of him is 0 for 2. That's a strike. 1-1. James Shields has a sense of humor. When he left the Rays and went to the Royals, it was spring training when he showed the humor. He was wearing a yellow fluorescent vest, a blue cap, waving a red flag. He was taking charge at the gate of the Royals players parking lot at the training complex in March of 2013. Foul ball. People would drive up to the gate and he'd say, "Hi, I'm James Shields. Welcome." Then he'd wave the red flag, maybe have a handshake, say something else, and then the driver would move on. He did it with Jeremy Guthrie, but they were doing it kind of on purpose. They wanted to show the rookie players where they should park, teach them a little more respect for the major league players. But Shields said it was fun. I just did it to shake them up, which is tough to do when you first join a new ball club. But that's James. Light breeze blowing to right field. And Rollins fooled. Down he goes. 5 strikeouts for
number 66,
Shields.
Yasiel Puig.
Kershaw has 8 strikeouts. Yasiel Puig has struck out, grounded to short, 0 for 2. One ball and no strikes. Game 1 of the 3-game series tomorrow night. Tyson Ross and Zach Greinke. Wednesday night, Andrew Kashner and Brandon McCarthy. Strike. After the 3 games, the Dodgers go to Arizona. Then they come back and play Seattle and Colorado. 1 ball and 1 strike. And that hits Puig. 91-mile-an-hour fastball gets him. And Yasiel goes to first base. Puig trying to get away. The ball just ran in. He didn't rub anything. It looked like it might have caught him on the fingers right there. Yeah, it grazed over the knuckles of one hand, touched the fingers on the other. Yasiel now puts on the sleeve to prevent injury while sliding. So 1 out, Puig at first, and Adrian Gonzalez at the plate. Gonzalez lined to third and then hit that home run inside the fair pole. Well, anyway, ball 1. What's in a name? A rose by any other name would smell as sweet, and the pole, fair or foul, is a pole. Gonzalez, by the way, against Shields. Remember, they faced each other in the American League. Hitting .333, including 2 home runs against him. 3-2 in favor of San Diego. San Diego on the road last year. They were 23 games under 500. They were far better at home at Petco. At Petco, they were 48-33. In on the hands, foul back, and the count 1-2. Padres also struggled within the Western Division. They were 33-43. The Dodgers had the best record within the division of any team in its own division. The Dodgers were number 1 against the West. They were 50-26. Still, when they went to Petco, it was a battle. Dodgers wound up winning only 5 of 9 down there. That's fouled away. Still 1-2 the count to Adrian Gonzalez. Adrian lined out to third and homered to right. And that's going to be reached for and dunked into right field. Stopping at second base is Puig. So Gonzalez had to go down and get it. Sounded like he hit it with a bunch of celery. And he was able to loop it into right field. So Adrian putting on a hitting clinic. Down he goes to get that thing. He couldn't have been more than 6 inches off the ground. So he is lined out to third. Homered inside the right field foul pole. And now dunks one into right field. That is a classic textbook of hitting. So now Howie Kendrick, who has grounded to third and triple coming up. His triple was set up for the double by Crawford, give the Dodgers the go-ahead 2-1 lead, only to have the Padres come back with doubles by Barmes and Kemp, and the leg single by Derek Norris now turns out to be his single biggest play in the game. So the Padres trying to hold on to the lead. Fastball squirted wide of first. The throw to short for one, and that's all. Nice play by Alonso to get the man at second base. On the play, Puig advancing to third. So Gonzalez is erased. Dodgers have runners at first and third. And the batter now will be Carl Crawford. Crawford popped a short in the second inning and doubled in the fourth. Tying run at third, go ahead run at first. Three runs, 6 hits for San Diego. 2 runs, 5 hits for the Dodgers. Drive foul way down the line. That was foul a moment at the left home plate. Sean Kelly, a right-hander, now gets up in the San Diego bullpen. Sean Kelly. Shields averaging almost 7 innings a start last year. 1-1 the count. Shields has made 78 pitches now. Meanwhile, Clayton Kershaw has made 79 and he's trailing 3-2. A little ground foul, 1-2. The Dodgers were well balanced last year in the sense they had a good record at home and a good record on the road. 1-2. Light breeze blowing from left to right. Flag stern. What a gorgeous day for a game. One ball, 2 strikes. Outside. 2-2. Shields is due to bat 5th when the Padres come up in the 6th inning. So Bud Black getting Kelly warmed up in the pen just in case. Padres have only had 2 managers in the last 20 years. Bruce Bochy and Bud Black. There goes the runner, and it's fouled at the plate. So Crawford, no, I guess it wasn't foul. There was no indication by Brian Gorman, and now they tag him out, and the inning is over. So no runs, 1 hit, a hit batter, and 2 left. And at the end of 5, 3-2 Padres. bag of 1981 when they beat the Yankees in the World Series. They opened up with the Giants, and in the bottom of the ninth inning, in a ball game tied, Dusty Baker got a base hit to drive in Bill Russell, and the Dodgers won the game. Terry Forster got a save, but what would turn out to be a heartbreaking year. Let's go back to this one. (3-2) San Diego. Here's Will Middlebrooks, hit into a force play and lined out to left. Hit the ball very hard. Crawford made a good play in the fourth inning. Kershaw has made 80 pitches. He has 8 strikeouts. He has not walked anybody. He hit a batter. But they are not only making contact, and we've always pointed it out, they foul pitches off. In fact, in the fourth inning, they fouled off 10 pitches. Big curveball lifted, slicing to right center. Peterson, a diving circus catch in center field. Boy, can that kid play center field. Wow. The jury's out, of course, as to whether he will ever hit or not. But play center, you betcha. The other night, a diving catch, and then when he hit the ground, the ball popped up out of the glove, and he was able to re-catch it and hold on to it. So Middlebrooks losing a base hit to Peterson. Jerko robbed of a hit by Uribe and singled, turned it into a double in the fourth inning. 2-0. When the Dodgers come up in the bottom of the sixth, Kershaw is due to bat fourth. He's now made 84 pitches. Shields has made 81. Good fastball. 2-1 to count. The Dodgers certainly have had their chances. They are only 1 for 7 with runners in scoring position. Matt Kemp alone 2 for 2 to drive in all 3 runs. 3-1. Alonso hitting behind Jerko. Fastball, high foul. Uribe coming over. Leaning, no play. Dodgers had a great opportunity in the fourth inning. They had 2 runs in. Crawford was at second base with nobody out. Uribe was robbed of a hit on a nice play on the right side by Jerko, but Crawford moved to third, so the tying run 90 feet away. But Peterson popped up. Ellis was walked intentionally. Kershaw struck out. Jerko now getting the pass, and the batter will be Yonder Alonso. Flied to right. Nice running catch by Yasiel Puig. Last time up, struck out. So Kershaw, 8 strikeouts, 1 walk, hit a batter. And that's popped in the air, foul, out of play. No chance. Dave Roberts talking to Jerko. Jerko last year with bad feet had 3 stolen bases, but he is not a guy who steals bases, and especially against somebody like Kershaw. He doesn't figure to run, but he could perhaps be involved in hit and run. No balls and 1 strike to Yanzer Alonso. Breaking ball missed. The day started with 2 quick strikes on Myers. Crowd oohing and aahing over the second strike. Big curveball. And then the next pitch, Myers hit on the leg. And the Padres got a run in the first inning. 1-2. Clint Barmes, the shortstop, on deck. And Barmes has struck out and doubled. We're in the 6th inning, top of the 6th. 3-2 Padres. Fastball in the dirt. Pitch count now, Kershaw up to 92. Considering it's the first start of the season, pitch count's pretty important. 2-2, they'll be watching Jerko. Foul back. The dreaded foul ball. Again, Alonso checking with Glenn Hoffman coaching at third. 3 runs, 6 hits for San Diego. 2 runs, 5 hits for the Dodgers. Curveball in the dirt. Down goes Jerko, and this time he pays for it. So Jerko trying to advance on a breaking ball in the dirt, and Ellis hangs him out to dry. Throwing to Jimmy Rollins. So Jerko does not run well, and that was an expensive gamble, and he's thrown out from me to you. 2-6, 2 out. Now 3-2 the count to Alonso. Nice play by A.J. Ellis. Fastball, tried too hard to throw that thing. 94 miles an hour, but he wasn't close.
Number 12, Clint.
So that was a big gamble, and Jerko lost it. So instead of 1 out and 2 on, you have 2 out, 1 on, and Clint Barmes at the plate. Barmes struck out, but he also doubled. And a restless Rick Honeycutt means Kershaw is struggling. Fastball missed. So he's struggling, not just the fact that he's piled up 96 pitches, but you get the feeling watching him that he is really having to push himself to get the job done. Yanharvey Solarte is out on deck. One ball and no strikes. 1-1. Back-to-back walks after that sensational catch by Jock Peterson in center field. He doesn't make that catch. Kershaw is really in trouble. Dodgers get ready, and Yimi Garcia begins to warm up in the bullpen. 1-1 the count. So the Dodgers get 2 breaks. The catch by Peterson, the gamble by Jerko. Alonso had a half a dozen stolen bases last year. 1-2 the count to Clint Barmes. And down goes Barmes. That would be strikeout number 9. Meanwhile, The big play, Jock Peterson making a dazzling diving rollover catch in center field. 2 men left, and at the end of 5 1/2, 3-2 San Diego. Winners than the Dodgers, and this season we're celebrating with a Cy Young Pin Collectors Series presented by 76. Pick up the first pin featuring Don Newcomb. That'll be Monday, April the 13th. Visit Dodgers.com/promotions. Big play involves Juan Uribe as the Dodgers gather around Clint Kershaw. Clayton just sitting back in the bench. Uribe pops it up. It'll be the first baseman, Yonder Alonso. Uribe fielded a ground ball from the catcher, Derek Norris. Made a strong, accurate throw to first, and Norris beat the throw. That kept the inning alive, and with runners at second and third, Matt Kemp came up and doubled in 2, and that's the difference in the game. The speed of the catcher and the clutch hit by Matt. So 3-2 San Diego. 1 out, and Jock Peterson coming up. And of course for Peterson, he might be 0 for 2 with the bat. He's 1 for 1. A big catch in the outfield. Right. James Shields has made 83 pitches. We've always talked about the hidden enemy for a pitcher, and that's the foul ball. And with Clayton Kershaw, it's an interesting part of his game today. There have been 17 swings and misses at his pitches, but there's also been 17 foul balls, 17 additional pitches. And that takes a toll over the course of 9. Breeze has picked up, blowing very well left to right. Also, Clayton has made 99 pitches now. Jockey, remember, against the Angels on a little pop fly into shallow center, he went down. Barney stepped on him while trying to make the catch. He got nicked on the side of the right knee, but he said it's okay. And he probably strokes one into right field. That's going to be a base hit for young Jock. Picked up out there by Matt Kemp, and holding on after rounding second is Jock Peterson. So the tying run is out there with 1 out. Jock looked like he got an off-speed pitch up and had a pretty good hack at it. So this time he wasn't jammed. He was right on top of it. So Peterson a double to right. A.J. Ellis the batter, and Justin Turner is out on deck to hit for Kershaw. So Jock Peterson, a double to right, first double of his career. A.J. trying to pick him up. A.J. Ellis struck out in the third inning and was walked intentionally in the fourth. Peterson with the Dodgers last year, in case you wonder, had 4 hits. So that's not his first, it's his 5th major league hit. 0-1 the count to A.J. Ellis. 3-2 Padres, bottom of the 6th. Dodgers not doing well at all. 1 for 7 with runners in scoring position. Shields coming up to his 90th pitch. Last year he averaged 6.7 innings per start. Well, he's in the 6th right now. 1-2 to Ellis. Justin Turner, who was so valuable for the Dodgers last year, incredibly so, hitting for a somewhat downcast Clayton Kershaw. And the runner going to third, and Peterson has stolen it. So Jimmy Rollins stole second in the third inning, and Peterson now steals third in the 6th. Remember, he had 33 home runs and 30 stolen bases at AAA, and he just promptly steals it. So 2-2, that makes the infield having to come up. That's a big play in itself. However, the fastball blows Ellis down. So Justin Turner coming up. Turner last year hit a remarkable .340, and as a pinch hitter he hit .400. I mean, he was lights out with runners in scoring position last year. Turner hit .396. So it's asking an awful lot of him, and here he comes willing to take on the battle. So Peterson at third, 2 out, and that'll do it for Kershaw as the redhead Justin Turner checks in. So for Clayton, 6 innings, 99 pitches, 9 strikeouts, 0-1. The wrong way ground ball by Kemp in the first inning with Kendrick on the other side of second base. Good bit of hitting by Matt. That got a run after Kershaw had hit a batter and Myers stole second. And then in the 5th inning, Derek Norris. Pretty hard to remember the last time we talked about a catcher making a huge play on a close play at first base. But Norris ran well, beat Uribe's throw. Instead of ending the inning, that allowed Kemp to come up and double. And Uribe made a good, strong, accurate throw, but all credit to Norris. 0-2 the count to Turner. Check, no. Down he goes. Bum check. So Turner can't hold up. He strikes out. Shields strikes out 2 in the 6th. Dodgers leave a man at third, so they're 1 for 9 with runners in scoring position. Kershaw is done for the day, and at the end of 6, 3-2 San Diego. Summary in a few brief words. Matt Kemp rolled a single to right field, and Howie Kendrick was playing on the shortstop side of second base, and that single produced a run. And then after that great run by the catcher Derek Norris to beat Uribe, keep the inning alive, Kemp doubled to drive in two more, so he's driven in all three. The Dodgers got a home run by Gonzalez to get close. They had a triple by Kendrick and a double by Crawford to get within one, but they're still trailing. And Corey Spangenberg, left-hand batter, will bat for James Shields against Yimi Garcia, who's from Moca in the Dominican Republic. Garcia pitched very briefly for the Dodgers in 8 games last year and starts with a strike. Garcia is 24. He'll be 25 in August. 6'1", about 175. Corey Spangenberg is out of Philadelphia and Florida. He's 24 years old. Spangenberg hit .250 for the Padres last year. And a high foul ball down the line, out of play. In fact, you give him the credit. Spangenberg hit .290. So James Shields goes out leading 3-2 in his debut in the National League. Foul back. The paid attendance today, we just get it, 53,518. One and two the count to Spangenberg. On the hands, foul back. So James Shields allows 2 runs and 6 hits in his 6 innings. Down in the bullpen, Nick Vincent begins to warm up for the Padres. Squirted and going foul. A reminder, Tyson Ross, Zach Greinke tomorrow night, Andrew Kashner, Brandon McCarthy the third night. One and two. And Corey goes down on strike 3. First strikeout for Garcia. Kershaw, while he was in there, struck out 9. So 10 Padres have gone down, but they're leading 3-2. The leadoff man, Will Myers. He was hit by a pitch 0-2 on the leg, then stole second and came home on Kemp's ground ball single. Since then, Will flied to center and struck out. There's a big question yet to be answered. Can Will Myers play center field? He has not been a center fielder, but they trade away Cameron Maybin in order to get Craig Kimbrell. So the Padres will find out if he can do it. They're loading up the left side on Myers. Breaking ball away. 1-1 the count. For Garcia, fastball, slider, and a change. He made his debut last year. 1st of September did Garcia in the 8th inning. Gave up a hit to the first batter. That was Bryce Harper. 2 balls and 1 strike to count. Yimi, that first name, Y-I-M-I. Yumpin' Yimi. or a reasonable facsimile. 2-1 the count. Good fastball. 2-2 the count to Myers. 1 out, 7th inning, 3-2 Padres. Don Mattingly will have Rollins, Puig, and Gonzalez coming up. Rollins has walked and singled. Gonzalez has homered and singled. Puig is 0 for 2 and been hit by a pitch. Fastball got him at the knees. So Yimmy comes in, strikes out Spangenberg, and now Myers. He throws very hard, and that's why he's with the club. He made it in spring training. He was very, very impressive. Now here's the biggest play of the game so far. Ground ball to third, and a catcher who can run beats the throw by Uribe. That extended the inning instead of ending it, and Kemp duggled in 2 runs, and that's the difference in the game. Strike 1. So Derek Norris. So far, so good for him. Oh and 1 to Derek. 0-2. Derek was originally signed by the Washington Nationals, but came over to the A's in 2012. Stayed with them, including last year. Last year he had a big year with 10 home runs and 56 runs batted in, and hit .270. High drive to left. Crawford backtracking. That'll be that. So 1-2-3 for Yimmy Garcia, and we're heading for the bottom of the 7th. 3-2 San Diego. By DraftKings. Play daily fantasy baseball for free on DraftKings.com. Use promo code BlueCrew for free entry. We're going to the bottom of the 7th inning. It's 3-2 in favor of San Diego. A reminder, 2 games with the Padres tomorrow night. Tyson Ross and Zach Greinke. And the following night, Andrew Kachner and then McCarthy. Dodgers then will go over to Arizona for 3 and come back and play Seattle and Colorado. So the Dodgers now face Nick Vincent. Vincent out of Ramona, California, born in Poway, and he was a Padres draft choice out of Long Beach State. First pitch to Rollins high. 1 ball and no strikes. Jimmy Rollins singled to right, walked, stole a base, and struck out. So Shields followed by Nick Vincent. Vincent missing away. 1 ball and 1 strike. Nick played college baseball at Palomar before transferring to Long Beach State. He grew up watching them at Qualcomm. 2-1 the count. Nick's an even 6, 175. And fly ball to right field. Coming over is Matt Kemp. Instead, it'll be Will Myers making the play. Kemp might have had a little trouble on that ball. So he and center fielders squaring off.
Number
1 away.
66, Yasiel Puig.
Yasiel Puig coming up. Has struck out, grounded to short, hit by a pitch. 0-4-2. On deck, Adrian Gonzalez. Fastball strike. Nick Vincent, one of the few North County High School graduates to make it to the big leagues, working on Puig. There are only 3 high school graduates from that area to have reached the big leagues with the Padres. Phil Plantier, Tony Gwynn Jr., and Dave Roberts. So Vince has joined that crew. Dave Roberts coaching at first and doing a great job for the runners. Puig, meanwhile, swinging away, coming up empty, and down he goes. So Vincent picks up a strikeout.
Adrian Gonzalez.
And Adrian Gonzalez, who has put on a clinic. They put a shift on, and his first time up he lined to third, and the next time up he hit one right down the right field line for a home run, and the last time up he dug one, looked like it was no more than 6 inches off the ground, and singled to right. So Gonzalez 2 for 3. Foul ball, 0-1. Padres lead 3-2. We're in the bottom of the 7th inning. Joel Peralta throwing in the Dodger bullpen after Yimi Garcia came in, retired the side, and struck out 2. 1 ball, 1 strike. Off speed and high, 2-1. Again, they have the shift on Gonzalez. Jerko way out about 10-15 feet in right field. Barmes and Alonso staying on the rim. Middlebrooks is way over in the shortstop hole on the left side. Adrian tried to go against the shift. Line drive towards left field, but it found Middlebrooks. That was back in the 1st inning. If they pitch him away, he'll go away. 3-1. Well, he was pulling on that swing. 3-2 the count. Waiting on deck, hitting back of him, Howie Kendrick. 3 balls, 2 strikes. Away, and he went after it. I'm not quite sure if that might have been ball 4. So Nick Vincent backing up James Shields, working on Adrian. Padres holding on to a 3-2 lead. They've led when they picked up the 2 in the 5th inning. And pulled down the right field line, fair ball. It goes into the corner. It is picked up by Kemp, and Adrian will stop at second base. Boy, he is quite a hitter. I think of all the Dodgers, I would just as soon watch Gonzalez swing as anyone on the team. I mean, he is a thoroughly major league successful hitter. Roll those hands over as he pulled that ball. But he'll go anywhere with that bat. Go the other way. Just depends on where the pitch is. So a double to right. That gives Gonzalez a home run, a double, a home run in the fourth inning, the single in the fifth, and the double here in the seventh. The one time they got him was a line drive in the first inning. So again, the Dodgers now with the opportunity. They're 1 for 9 with runners in scoring position. Little slider, strike, 0-1. Gonzalez, of course, also a tough man to score from second base. I mean, speed is not his game. And that's a drive into the gap in right center. Base hit. Here comes Adrian. The ball is bobbled. Into second goes Kendrick. He is in there. And we have a tied up game, 3-3. The hopper got away from Kemp for the moment, so we'll see whether it's a double all the way or 1-1. Kendrick hit it hard, no doubt about that. Kemp moving over toward right center, tried to backhand the ball and couldn't do it. By the time he gets it in, Kendrick is in scoring position, so that'll do it for Nick Vincent. Frank Garces will be coming in, and it will be a double for Howie Kendrick. So he's got a double and a triple today. Padres go to the pen, and we'll be back. Has indeed become a battle of the bullpens, and of course in a battle for the bullpens you've got to give San Diego the edge. They certainly have a closer in Craig Kimbrell. Right now Jimmy Garcia pitched the top of the seventh, struck out 2. Vincent gives up 2 doubles, and Frank Garces out of San Cristobal in the Dominican Republic coming in. Frank is 5'11", 175, and he will look not at Carl Crawford. He will see Van Slyke. Chris Van Slyke coming out of the dugout. Hit .315 last year against left-handers and did a very good bang-up job against the Angels, against the left-handers that he saw. So Van Slyke checking in. Kendrick at second base. 2 out, 1 in, and we have a 3-3 tie. Scott Van Slyke with the Dodgers last year, 11 home runs, 29 runs batted in, and a .297 batting average. So Frank Garces, the left-hander, ready. Ball 1. One ball and no strikes. Scott Van Slyke trying to pick up Howie Kendrick. Fastball missed. So Jimmy Rollins has a walk and a single and a stolen base. Howie Kendrick has had a double and a triple. And now they've decided, let's not fool around. Let's put Van Slyke aboard. So behind 2-0. Ball 3. That makes a lot of sense. So the starters are not involved. Kershaw's off the hook. Shields, who went out leading, now will have nothing to do with it. And the batter will be Juan Uribe. Frank Garces on the mound, we understand, speaks very little, almost no English. Bud Black going out to talk to him. In the bullpen, the right-hander Sean Kelly, and Bud, in any language, just takes the ball away from Garces. So Garces comes out, Kelly will be coming in, and we'll be back. And 2:15 with MLB.com at bat on your smartphone or tablet. Stay connected with live radio broadcasts, stats, breaking news, and a lot more. So download MLB.com at bat, the #1 app for live baseball. Well, the Dodgers are trying to do something they couldn't do much of last year. They were not a comeback team. In fact, they only had 3 comeback wins in the 7th inning or later all of last year. 3. The only team to do that, have that few comebackers, and still make it in the postseason. So Sean Kelly versus Juan Uribe. Tapper to the right side. Jerko is there. That'll be that. So Uribe goes 0 for 4 as he grounds out. The Dodgers come up with a run on a couple of doubles. And at the end of 7, a 3-3 tie. Van Slyke, who came off the bench, and when the count went 2-0, they put him on. And then, interestingly enough, Juan Uribe came up. Uribe is not only 0 for 4 in 3 at-bats. The last 3 he has swung at the first pitch. So the veteran, you would think, would go up there looking for a pitch to hit, and instead Uribe swinging at the first one, and he's paid the price. So as Uribe goes back to his position, and remember, Juan still feels, I'm sure, the burn of having Derek Norris beat his throw to first, which is a huge play back in the 5th inning. So meanwhile, Joel Peralta, certainly a veteran, originally signed by the A's in 1996, working on Matt Kemp. Kemp is 2 for 3, ground ball single. They still have the shift on, but now it's modified. Kendrick has not gone to the other side of the bag. He paid a price by going all the way across the bag in the 1st inning. Otherwise, Kemp's little roller would have been an out. So Kendrick on the second base side of the bag, but right on the rim. 0-1. Breaking ball, good one. 0-2. Joel Peralta will be 39. In fact, he just turned 39. Originally signed in 1996, came up with the Angels in 2005, then went to the Royals, then to the Rockies, the National, the Rays, and the Dodgers. (0-2) in the dirt. Peralta and J.P. Howell have been together 3 times now. They were teammates at Kansas City. They were teammates at Tampa Bay, and now teammates here with the Dodgers. They always pull a gag on each other. Whoever joins the first one cleans out his locker, puts all the clothing into a laundry cart as if they've been cut from the club. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Still foul. So Matt single to right, grounded to third, double to left to drive in 2. He's knocked in all 3. Three runs, 6 hits for San Diego, 3 runs, 8 hits for the Dodgers. It has turned into a battle of the bullpens. High pop fly, Kendrick. So Kemp pops it up. He goes 2 for 4. 1 out in the 8th. And Justin Upton coming up. Justin 0 for 3. When Joel Peralta first signed way back in 1997 with the A's, Peralta was a shortstop. They released him, and then he was signed by the Angels, who converted him to the mound. Actually, he converted himself. He was playing amateur ball in the Dominican Republic, went to the mound, and a friend convinced him that would be his only path to the big leagues, and his friend was right. No swing. Ball 1 to Upton. When he played for Joe Madden and the Rays, Madden put the name El Campeon, the champion, on Peralta. The dangerous Upton, 1 ball and no strikes. Breaking ball in there. In fact, Madden likes Peralta so much, he says if he wants it, he can become a very good pitching coach. He really understands the game. One and 1. Fastball, but out of the zone. Justin Upton, remarkable all-around player. First came up with the Diamondbacks in 07. He's had years where he had 102 runs batted in, 31 home runs. He's hit 300. He's one of those players who makes it look so easy. And promptly hits it to center. That's going to fall. So Upton, a base hit. Now Upton, a couple of years ago, stole 21 bases. Last year he only stole 8. So we shall see if he represents a threat with the base hit. 7 hits for San Diego. Kershaw allowed 3 runs, 6 hits, struck out 9, walked a couple. Garcia worked 1 inning, struck out 2. And here is Middlebrooks. Right. So for Peralta, what a long career, starting in the year 2000 after he had converted himself in amateur ball, and here he is 16 years later pitching in the big leagues. Ground ball to third. Uribe down to second. Kendrick turns to first in the dirt. Nice pick. Double play. And I'll tell you one thing, Justin Upton was really trying to break up that double play. Howie Kendrick made a remarkable play. There's Uribe, but look at Upton, just took the legs right out from under Howie Kendrick, and he still got the play. And we're heading to the bottom of the 8th, 3-3. Kendrick. Here's Uribe on the ground ball. Watch Upton take the legs right off Kendrick. Coming up right there. Got it to his right leg. Down goes Howie. Bounces the throw in time to get the double play. So now the Dodgers in the bottom of the 8th inning. Jock Peterson struck out, popped up, doubled, and stole third. Also made a tumbling catch in center field against a ball hit by Middlebrooks in the 6th inning. And strike 1. The infield is set up where they move Barnes way over to his left. Middlebrooks is almost at the hole at short, and the Dodgers congratulating Kendrick in the dugout. 2-1 the count to Peterson. Jerko's on the rim, and the first baseman Alonso is guarding the line. They're still talking over that play. 3-1 the count to Jock Peterson. A.J. Ellis waiting on deck. Sean Kelly, the fourth pitcher, and misses for ball 4.
Number 17.
So Jock Peterson, who stole third, issuing a word that he had best be watched very carefully. Andre Ethier is going to come out on deck and bat for Peralta. So we'll see about Ellis, whether he's going to be up there to get a bunt down. He shows bunt. Pops it in the air. Caught by whom? Wow, it looks like Alonso caught the ball and might have hurt himself at the same time. Now Bud Black coming out to make sure the first baseman is all right. Got him high up around the right eye or cheekbone. Though Ellis can't get the bunt down. Here comes the play. Alonso seems to have it all the way. Just did catch it. And then the elbow of Kelly caught him in the face.
Ladies and gentlemen, pitch hitting for the Dodgers. Number 16.
So now Andre Ethier is called on to bat for Peralta. Andre Ethier had a quiet but solid spring. Then you may remember he was hit on the elbow, appeared briefly against the Angels, and now up there with Peterson at first and 1 out. Big play. A.J. Ellis unable to get the bunt down. On deck, Jimmy Rollins. And ball 1. Andre Ethier last year hit .249. He will certainly go after the first pitch if he can. When he makes contact, he hit .365 going after the first pitch. 1-1. Peterson, meanwhile, trying to find a look from Sean Kelly. Jock held on by Alonso. Kelly out of Louisville, originally signed by the Mariners in 2007. A bluff by Peterson. 2-1 the count. Kelly is 6'2" and 220. 31 years old. Pitched for the Mariners, the Yankees, and now the Padres. We have a 3-3 tie, bottom of the eye. 3 runs, 7 hits for the Padres. 3 runs, 8 hits for the Dodgers. 2-1. Now the question here is, with a 2-1 count, would the Dodgers play hit and run? You have speed at first, and Ethier against a right-hand pitcher. We'll watch Peterson. He is not going. Check swing, ball 3. Now will they play run and hit? Remember the difference? With 3 balls on the hitter, he is not forced to swing at ball 4. Hit and run, you have to swing. Watching Peterson, short lead, trying to increase it. He's not going. Ground foul, 3-2. So they didn't have a play on 2-1, didn't have a play on 3-1. Now let's see about 3-2. Peterson and Ethier taking a look. Derek Norris is also taking a look. Peterson does not go on a little ground ball knocked down by Alonso, who feeds Kelly, and safe at first. Alonso unable to handle a little roller to first. So the Dodgers get a big break. Instead of 2 out and a runner at second, they have first and second and 1 out. And Jimmy Rollins coming up. Take another look. Alonso having trouble. Couldn't pick it up. Finally does. Tries to feed his pitcher, who misses first base. So we'll see if they give Alonso an error. Dodgers will have runners at first and second. They're going to give the pitcher the error for missing the bag. And of course, Alonso really made an easy play so difficult. So E1. Take another look. You talk about trying to find the angle, and then the right hand comes down, and the right foot is late, and the Dodgers get a huge break. So first and second, 1 out, and the batter Jimmy Rollins. Jimmy Rollins had a base hit in the first inning. So he now owns the longest current opening day hitting streak. He's hit in 11 straight openers. By the way, the great Ted Williams, he never went hitless on opening day. All right, here's Jimmy in a big spot. 2 on, 1 out. 3-3 in the 8th. It's been Shields, Vincent, Garces, and Kelly. Kershaw, Garcia, and Peralta, and Chris Hatcher warming up in the bullpen. 0-1. Bud Black doing a little cheerleading. Kelly basically a fastball, slider, and changeup. There's the fastball at 93. Jock Peterson at second. Andre Ethier at first. 1 out. In the dirt. Nice block by Derek Norris. 1 and 2 to Jimmy Rollins. Keeping the ball down, and they count 2-2. Dodgers saw San Diego jump out 1-0. Dodgers came back to lead 2-1. Padres turned it around to lead 3-2. Dodgers tied it 3-3, and now they're trying to untie it in the bottom of the 8th inning. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 1 out, 2 on. And ball 3. Jock Peterson, who stole third in the 6th inning, I think has been distracting Kelly a little bit. Norris going out to talk to the right-hander. Kelly basically fastball, power slider, and a changeup. Keeps the ball low. He has what they call a high back elbow. You don't see it in the stands, but if you are a hitter, the elbow makes that pitch deceptive. The crowd, 53,000, watching on a high foul off to the right and out of play. Paid attendance, 53,518. A reminder tomorrow night, Tyson Ross and Zach Greinke. Ross developing into a truly standout pitcher. All right, 1 out, 3-2 the count. Runners retreat. Kelly was thinking about the fact they might be gone. And waiting on deck, Yasiel Puig, who has struck out twice, grounded out, and hit by a pitch. So a big moment, 3-2, runners hold, and it's grounded foul. Still 3-2 to Jimmy. The outs rarely affect Jimmy Rollins in his career, hitting .264 with none out, .277 with 1 out, .262 with 2 out. So 3-2, the runners holding each time. And Rollins backs out. Norris heading out to the mound. Rollins, the proud possessor, you may remember, of a 38-game hitting streak. Back in 2007, Jimmy set a record. He had 716 at-bats. All right, 3-2 again with 1 out. High drive into deep right field. Jimmy Rollins has hit a 3-run home run. And the Dodgers lead 6-3. Jimmy Rollins might be only 5'8", but he has hit as many as 30 home runs in his career. Back in 2007, he had 17 home runs last year, 23 2 years before. So he can hit them out. A little guy with the power of a big man. And here is Yasiel Puig, 0-1. So a walk. And with 1 out, the error by Alonso and the home run by Rollins on a 3-2 pitch. Puig flashing away 0-2. By the way, remember Rollins had the count, no balls and 2 strikes, battled all the way to go 3-2, and then hit the 8th pitch for the home run. 1-2 to Yasiel Puig. Take another look at the home run. At the knees, fastball, and he got all of it. He knew immediately. Of course, left-handers like that ball down most of the time. Check swing, no swing. Puig certainly looks uncomfortable all day. First at bat struck out. Last at bat struck out. In between, grounded out and hit by a pitch. Foul back. So Jimmy Rollins, what an at bat. No balls, 2 strikes, battled all the way. Hits it out. 3-run home run. Dodgers lead 6-3. Check. No swing. So Chris Hatcher will be asked to close in the absence of Kenley Jansen. And he's down in the pen getting ready. He'll be pitching to Jerko, Alonso, and Barmes for the bench. Still 3-2. Yasiel kind of muttering to himself. 6-3 Dodgers, bottom of the 8th. Slider off the plate. Puig gets ball 4. So that'll bring up Adrian Gonzalez. And for Bud Black, another headache. Only twice has a Bud Black team finished above 500 in the 8 years that he's been there, which is not a sign of his inefficient managing, but more the lack of talent. In fact, the Padres last couple of years, last 3, have somewhere between 75 and 78 victories. Last year was 77. So Rollins sits back with young Jock Peterson, and the Dodgers sit back for the moment, leading 6-3. Adrian fouling it away. No balls, 1 strike. There goes Puig. Pitch outside. Norris' throw is too late. Throw was right at the bag, and Yasiel just did get enough of a jump. So Puig stealing second. Still only 1 out, remember. Yasiel turning Barmes around. There's Puig going in. There's Barmes, left leg spinning out. Down he goes. So it's been quite an inning for the Dodgers. Started off with a walk to Jock Peterson. Ellis popped the bunt up for an out. Ethier hit that little ground ball. Alonso just couldn't pick it up. By the time he got it, Kelly had missed the bag. Then Rollins came up quickly. No balls, 2 strikes. Jimmy battled and battled, went all the way 3-2, and then hit the home run. Here's Puig coming in hard, and now they're going to call Puig out after looking at the replay. Throw was right at the bag. It was like putting your hand in a machinery. Barmes did just that and held on to the ball. See, the left foot blocked Puig's right foot for the moment, and he got the tag. Close play. So he's nailed instead. 2 down. And here's Adrian with a 1 ball, 1 strike count. 1-2. To repeat, the Padres are due to send up Jerko, Alonso, and Barmes. In the dugout, they have Will Venable. They have Solarte, a switch hitter, and they have Alexi Amarista, who is celebrating his birthday today, and he's a left-handed batter. So that'll do it for Adrian and for the Dodgers, but thanks to Jimmy Rollins, who battled 0-2 and wound up hitting a 3-run home run. The Dodgers go into the 9th inning leading 6-3. from a no ball 2-strike count to a 3-2 count and then hitting a 3-run home run. What a way to have an opening day. Remember, he has at least a hit in 11 straight openers. This is his 15th opening day. He had 14 in a row with Philadelphia. And what a marvelous way to begin the year with a new club. A single, a stolen base, a walk, and then the 3-run home run. But the game is not over yet as Chris Thatcher comes out of the pen. Hatcher out of Kinston, North Carolina, is asked to close because Kenley Jansen can't be here. Maybe early May. So the first test for the Dodger bullpen without Jansen, and it comes immediately opening day. Surprisingly, in some ways, coming in a game that was started by Clayton Kershaw. Jerko has grounded out, doubled, and walked. And that hit him on the hand. So here we go. Jerko reaches on a hit batsman. And the batter will be Yonder Alonso. Ball just sailed in, got him. Jerko spinning around in obvious pain. He's okay, goes to first. Alonso out on a fine running catch by Yasiel Puig. Struck out and walked. Checking Jerko to make sure he's okay. He kind of grazed the wrist. Alexi Amarista, the birthday boy, is out on deck as Alonso checks in at the plate. First baseman cost the Padres a run when he was unable to field the ball hit by Ethier, and then his throw to Kelly. Kelly missed the bag, but it should have been a 1-2-3 play easily. And that made it a 3-run home run by Rollins instead of 2. Ground ball to short. Rollins quickly to Kendrick. Kendrick turns to first, and the Dodgers have a double play. So 2 out, 9th inning. Dodgers lead 6-3. Take another look. Rollins to Howie Kendrick, just like that, 2 down. Clint Barmas due up. He will give way to the birthday boy Amarista. Amarista 5'7", 150. (26 years old). He can play a lot of positions: second, short, third, even the outfield. And just like that, 1 ball, 1 strike. Chris Hatcher had been with the Marlins, 5th-round pick out of North Carolina. Fastball strike, 1-2. Hatcher moved to the pitcher's mound during spring training in 2011. He was a catcher for 5 years in the Miami system, and then they turned him around. 2-2. So for the Padres, frustrated, not to mention the feelings of Matt Kemp and Justin Upton, and the Dodgers thrilled with the performances of Jimmy Rollins, Adrian Gonzalez, and the rest. 2-2. Got him. So for Chris Hatcher, he comes in and does what the Dodgers hoped he could do. He came in and closed the game, getting a double play and a strikeout on 9 pitches. Dodgers 6 runs, 9 hits, no errors. The Padres 3 runs, 7 hits, and 1 error. The player of the game, oh sure, Jimmy Rollins. No balls, 2 strikes, fights it to 3-2, and hits a 3-run home run He hit the Dodgers to 6-3 victory. Kershaw, Garcia, Peralta, and Hatcher for the save. Shields, Vincent, Garces, and Kelly for the loss. Tomorrow night, remember, Tyson Ross and Zach Greinke. Hope you'll be out here with us. That'll do it for this afternoon as the Dodgers start the year off on the right foot, winning 6-3. We wish you all a very pleasant good afternoon, everybody.